So, good morning, wildlings. I had a beyond magical weekend, and I realized, with the help of some really good friends, that I truly do need to start showing you more of who I really am, and in a really natural way. Um, Kind of like showing you how I wake up in the morning and showing you how I connect all of these things. And it's so funny because I'm a small bone. I was a seer, I was a healer, I was all sorts of things. I owned a metaphysical shop. I taught mediumship. Well, I wouldn't even say mediumship, like intuition for years. I wrote a best-selling book about being a medium. I've done all of these things, but under the guise of something else. And now that I'm really starting to understand who I am, not just through the lens of neurodivergence, because I have ADHD, which when you get your diagnosis feels so overwhelming and you have to go through so many stages of grief and overwhelm and overstimulation and figuring out how to regulate your nervous system. And that's taken me like 5 years. It's not an easy process. And for me, I'm a Gestalt learner, so I really can't make any progress until I have all the pieces. And to me, things feel very confusing until I have that very last bit that completes the puzzle. And then I can go, oh, there it is. So that's the position I'm in right now, is like I feel like I've seen how my brain works and how to use it um in a way that helps my body and doesn't hinder my body. And I figured out the medications and the herbal medicine that I need to achieve things that I honestly never thought I'd be able to achieve. And I sat with one of my really good friends this weekend, Chris Ann, and Chris Ann and I, we've known each other for a really long time, but we see each other periodically. And when we see each other, something happens that I just can't explain. And I have had this experience with so many people, and Chris Ann really encouraged me to really just talk about what it is that happens when I get together with people, not only so other people can understand it, but also so I can understand it. Because a lot of these things I don't say out loud a lot. So um, it's a constant loop in my head. And that's one of the things about being autistic is, and ADHD and all of those things. Like we all have our own way of being in this world. And whether you're divergent or not, this information that I'm going to share will help you because we all have nervous systems. We all have, um, you know, moments of clarity and moments of confusion. We all have sometimes the inability to see what is right in front of us. And that's my gift is I can see not just for myself what is coming, but for other people. Chris Ann came down this weekend, and don't worry, Chris Ann, I won't give anything away. Um, Presented me with something, and I was like, "What is going on here? What I've seen this," and I was able to like literally say the things that were coming as I interacted with it and be like, "Yeah, I've seen this." I'm realizing now that, like, I didn't realize before what I was seeing. When I need to connect with somebody, I literally, and without knowing, because this is just how my body works, I connect into your subconscious without really understanding because I have always done this. This is not something new for me. Like, I think that's the hardest part for me to even comprehend is all of these things that I've been teaching all of this time and all of these things that I've been experiencing all of this time are actually the things that everybody in the spiritual community wanted to achieve. I just didn't have the words to say, hey guys, you know that thing you want to do? Like, I know how to do it. I just didn't have the words to be able to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And I think I've said this quite a few times before. The more I hang out with autistic people, the more I hang out with creative people that think like me, because here's the other thing. One of my really good friends is a neurobiologist, and she keeps telling me, and I truly do believe her, that we are going to get to a place where your neurocognitive part is not considered a difference. It's just who you are. So, yes, right now, everybody looks at me as different because I have ADHD. But it's just the same thing as me looking at you and going, but you're neurotypical. Like, you're not going to be able to necessarily immediately get to where my brain is because you don't have the neural pathways to be able to do that. But I can help you get to those places by using some of the skills that I have learned um, over the years because I thought I was having to learn all of this stuff, but it was actually already in my body. It's why if you were in the shedding, those shadow coaching sessions were so bang on because it's literally like I can just sit with you and see what you're supposed to be doing and the projects that your work should be working on. And it's because I can very quickly tune into that higher connection for you, not just for me. Like when I sit with people, I didn't realize that I was doing well, I mean, I did because I used to say, I'm now going to go in your house and I'm going to be able to remote view and tell you what's going on in there. And after I do that, we'll have a connection and I'll be able to tell you about your grandfather. I didn't know what I was actually doing um, because I had been taught in the framework of mediumship. So for me to make sense of all of the things that I had, I put it in this box of mediumship because that was the thing that made the most sense to me. That I've been doing, I do all of this stuff naturally without having to meditate for hours on end, without I mean, when I do all of those things, it amplifies. So, like, now that I'm in a deep practice and I'm doing this work every day, it's intensifying it to a point that I truly do get overwhelmed by it most days. That um when I see things coming so clearly and I can see um things, and I don't want to say before they happen, but like I can feel the energy moving towards this feeling of, and then all of a sudden there it is. And I didn't, yeah, it's just interesting. So I wanted to start these fireside chats a really long time ago because I knew what Woo Chat did for so many people. Um, and I know now what that did for me as a druid, as somebody whose traditions are truly based on oral traditions. Like there is, yes, there's stuff written down about druids, but honestly, to understand druidry, you just have to connect with the land. And then the land gives you everything you need that if you are a person that needs checks and balances and needs a structure, then go and take the OBOT. That's, the, oh, I can never say it because the words don't come easily out of my mouth because I don't think for me, it's not what I need. So, um, there's an American Association of Druids, Ovates, and Bards, and then there's a British Druid, Ovates, and Bards. And you can join them and learn like a systematic version of Druidry. But honestly, the core tenets of Druidry is just reciprocity with the earth. And if you are in a reciprocal relationship with the land and you're in nature, you're a druid or a medicine woman or a healer or whatever it is you want to call yourself. And if you can receive information without having to do too much work, you're already there. And this is the part that I really want to encourage, especially my generation of healers, witches, intuitives, mystics, all of that. You're already there. If you've been practicing this for 20 years, you're already there. You have to stop seeking and you have to start doing. Now is the time of action. Isn't there Aries somewhere in the charts right now? And we have to start interacting with each other again. We have to start building our local community again. We have to start where we were when my generation of seekers were a decade ago. So do you remember that when we all started doing moon ceremonies together and we all started connecting in person and we all started learning about magic and there was no labels on everything and I called it the woo and said that there are no rules. Remember all of that? Let's pull some of that back in. Um, let's start some of that again because I think that's the energy that we all need to tap back into. I'm like being with Chrisanne this weekend really reminded me of those times and of that energy and what we were capable of doing in groups together. And I'm really excited because not only do I want these fireside chats to be, you know, me reminding you of what we're capable of, but also me sharing some of the wisdom that I have, me sharing who I am. Like, if you don't know, I'm a psychedelic educator, but I also am a medicine woman in my ancestral traditions. And the more that I interact with medicines and learn how to use them with my own intuition, not anything anybody else says. Um, and I use them to help my body. So I use CBD heavy, I use CBN heavy for my brain, for my body. I smoke 1 to 2 of these a day, and that brings me to a place where I'm no longer overwhelmed by all of the things in my mind. I'm no longer overwhelmed by everything that's going on outside of me, that I can be grounded in that information as opposed to the information that I'm receiving being overwhelming. Um, I'm definitely way more in my body. I feel embodied for the first time in my life that yes, things do dysregulate me. I had some really intense conversations with my partner this weekend and I became severely dysregulated, but I know that's part of it. I had some really good times this weekend that were overwhelmingly abundant with knowledge and love and just everything I needed to spark my own joy. And I felt so many sparks this weekend. Um, but I also felt some really intense heaviness and really intense overwhelm, but I was able to deal with it in a way I have never been able to deal with it before. And I stayed in my body. And instead of me becoming dysregulated for months or weeks or days, it was hours. And that is something that I want to celebrate. And I'm celebrating with the start of the Fireside step. So I don't know how these will work. This will be part of the paid Substack. So this is a way for me to articulate and hear myself say the things that I need to say out loud because my tradition is oral. If I don't oratate, I don't actually learn the lessons. It's why I'm a verbal processor. It's why when I say things out loud, I have these severe moments of clarity. So I'm truly learning how to be me, not processing the way a neurotypical does, not being the way a neurotypical does. I'm truly learning who am I for the first time ever. And I'm using the tools that have always helped me, but I'm managing them in a way that is so much better for my body, so much better for my mind. And when I sit like this, I have such clarity. And I want to offer that as a tidbit of wisdom to you. How are you presenting yourself? How are you sharing yourself with the world? Is it through layers of filters? Like, I knew I had cognitive disabilities. I knew I had, things that overwhelmed me. But I was just kind of like shoving those into a dark corner of my life and saying, yeah, it's shitty, but I can be this person, right? And that energy of having to force myself to be a certain way, instead of allowing myself to do this and show up exactly who I am, um, it's taken me forever. But like even now, I was listening to a radio show this morning and they were talking about patriarchy and capitalism and settler like mindset. And it was for the first time that I actually said out loud, yeah, I'm not a settler. I'm an immigrant. And I think a lot of people don't even know that about, right? That people see me living here in Canada with a Canadian accent, that I am this certain kind of person. So I am the white woman that came and destroyed and took and did all of it. And it's like, that is how you perceive me because you don't know any better. And I look like I present a certain way, but I don't. And I think that's something that we all have to get better at is taking off that mask that we thought the world needed us to be so we can show up as exactly who we are. Like that's what the telepathy tapes did for me. Those kids showing up exactly who they are and saying, this is how I exist in the world gave me a pathway to understand who I am and how I exist in the world. And now I want to offer that back. I want to say, hey, me too. I don't look like the rest of the world. And that's what I did with my mediumship. That's why that worked so well, because I showed up and said, hey, I do this thing. I don't think a lot of people can do this. Let me do it for you. And now that's what I want to achieve in the at work that I'm doing, but in a completely different way. In my true, you thought my truest version of myself was the barefoot medium. Oh boy, there's so much more coming. And I just said that and it made me nauseous. So here we go. This is the beginning. I do want to also, Chrisanne and I have talked about this of interviewing each other so we can share more of those details because I do think it's very hard for us to sometimes talk about ourselves because of the judgments that have been put upon us in the spiritual community. Um, and it's very hard to talk about those things as an individual. Like if I just sit here and talk about my experience of the spiritual community, it sounds very, I don't even want to say egotistical, that's not the thing, but it's very one kind of sided. And when you have somebody else to kind of, my friend uses the term contrast, my experience against, people will understand it a little bit more. So I think I'm going to get back into the interviewing piece, people too, because that went really well the last time I did it. And I kind of miss that connection. I miss dropping people in your laps and saying, hey, these are some people I learned from and they're super awesome. I want you to learn from them too. So I don't know what's going to even happen to this, but I know that I have to start sharing all of me. And I don't even know how to do that yet. So this is the beginning. So thank you. Um, and if you want to see the full videos, you can join the Wild Healing on Substack, and I will be posting every single one of my fireside chats in there. The ones that are just of me, and then the ones where I'll be inviting the people that I really, 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 really respect, and the people that have really helped my journey to this point, even if they don't know they did. And it's not going to be all magical people. It's going to be some very, everyday moms and pops and everyday mundane people too, because I feel like there is magic in everything. And when we say magic is only here, you're missing out on all of the magic that is everywhere all the time. And that's what I'm really here to teach, is that there is ritual in the everyday. There is magic in the everyday. So wildlings, it's time for me to set you free, maybe spark your fire a bit. I hope that we can create some amazing magic here together in the wild healing. So go be wild, go be free, go live divergently. Check in with me every once in a while and see what I'm offering, see what other people are offering. Just get your feelers out there again. I think community is just starting to rebuild itself, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Bye for now, wildlings.